And we are live. Welcome to the Ascension Podcast. Jonathan, Jaquay, and Tristin are here, and we have my boy John Branch right here with us today. So we ended last year off with, I can't remember really what we were talking about, but everybody got super busy and people got tied up doing a couple of things. So you notice Ernesto and Terry and Trey aren't here today. So it's going to be a little different until they can rejoin us. So today we are starting with, what has God done for you in your life lately? So beginning, middle towards last year, I met this girl. This is my testimony, right? And so, yeah, I met this girl. And when I say the moment, her name is Jessica Williams. I love you, sweetheart. Her name is Jessica Williams. And when I say the moment that I saw her on our first date, I knew she was the one. 5 months later, I proposed to her in Paris and asked her to marry me. So when I say she was the one, I knew that moment she was the one. I knew that moment whenever I saw her. From the moment she opened the door, I knew she was the one. And so not only has God blessed me with, a wonderful future wife and, family and all this stuff, the sanctuary gym is rocking and rolling. Everything in my life seems to be going really well. And so we got John on because we wanted to ask John, how's your life going? What's been going on with you lately? Tell the people where you are, what you do, and what's been going on with you, man.
All right, my name is John Branch. I have a glass business, Johnson Glass and Mirror. It's something I've been doing since I've been 11. I'm 39 now.
John is responsible for all the glass in my entire gym. Most of the people at the gym know when they see John. So John does all this construction for any type of glass, mirrors, showers. If there's glass on anything in your house or your business, John takes care of it. So the way that I met John, 6-7 years ago?
It's been 7 years.
7 years ago, I had a broken mirror. This kind of just goes to show you how God works. Exactly like this is. So John was, pretty overweight, going through like a rough time in his life. He was basically going through divorce. And I didn't know. I'm just at the gym and I see this guy in a hoodie walking on a Stairmaster. And so I had a mirror that had been broken. Somebody had dropped a dumbbell and the dumbbell hit the glass and it was kind of shattered at the bottom. And so I just left it like that because it really wasn't bothering me. It wasn't in the way. But to a glass guy,
that bothered me.
It was bothering him.
Every time I walked in there, I seen that thing.
Yeah, every time he walked in there. So I didn't know he owned a glass company. I just knew he was a guy walking on the Stairmaster. So I'm one day he walks up to me and goes, "Hey man, I own a glass company, right?" I was like, "No." He goes, "I tell you what, let me pull that piece of mirror off, that glass. Let me replace that mirror, and whatever the cost of that is, we'll just trade services. I'll put that mirror up and I'll start, and you give me some training." So I was like, all right.
Well, what it was is I seen him training people, and I seen these people nearly dying and having death, the look of death on their face. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm over here on a stair mill. I'm trying to lose weight. I need to do everything I don't want to do. And the best way is to hire somebody to make me do it.
Yeah. And 7 years ago, the rest is history. Dude is one of my best friends. We hang out all the time. He still trains with me 5 days a week. Whenever I'm in town on the weekends, we hang out. We go do birthday stuff. One of my closest friends. When I say if anything ever happens and I want to pick up the phone and call somebody, this is one of the first dudes I would ever call because he's just always been there. Every time I need help at the gym, he's always there. And it's just a testament to what God can do in your life whenever he puts people in your life. So I want to talk about your journey from the 7 years, from the beginning all the way till now. Talk about what you feel comfortable going through from the moment we met, from your transformation, from what's been going on in your head to just everything that's been going on.
So, okay, to start out with, I was 275 pounds when I first started going to the sanctuary.
As he's talking about this, we're going to put a picture of him of what he looked like before, and so that you can actually understand what it meant, because as he's talking about it now, you really don't know. But once you see the picture of what he looks like, or what he looked like whenever we started, it kind of tells the story of where he was to where he is now.
Definitely. And to give a quick backstory, the Sanctuary Gym in the original location off of 517, it was by my old house. And I literally passed by the Sanctuary for 1 year telling myself I was going to go. But, as a fat person and somebody with not a lot of confidence, I was kind of scared and I didn't want to start and I didn't know what I was doing. Um, but then at one point, my now ex-wife, she was having some weight loss contest at her work. She's a school teacher. And she told me about it, and I just said, "Hey, I'm gonna do it with y'all. Not with y'all in the group, but I'm just gonna try to lose weight." It was January 1st, very typical. That's why I never make fun of people that start January 1st, because I'm one that started January 1st and haven't stopped. So, um, yeah, I that's a quick backstory. I passed by there for a year. Finally signed up. Seen the mirror was broke. Me and John started training together, and at this point, my marriage was pretty much crumbling. Uh, I mean, it was one of those things too where I knew he was kind of a religious person. Obviously, he owned a gym. He knew one of my other friends, so I knew he was, was a good guy. And it literally one day I was like broke down in training. I was crying, and I just like asked him to pray with me. And of course, and this is like the beginning of pretty much my life changing. But we ended up praying together right there. And like I said, I barely know this guy, but I know I could just sense he's a good person. So we ended up praying for me. I keep training, started out 3 days a week. I think I initially lost 30 pounds pretty fast,
Pretty quick.
maybe a couple months into it. And I have an addictive personality. So whenever I get started on something and I see results, I will keep going and doing whatever I have to do to keep succeeding, which in weight loss, it gets hard because you hit.
Real quick, let's stay right there. What was the process leading up to you becoming like getting so like out of weight? I want to know what your habits were, and then how did you start becoming like how did you start making better habits? So like you said, I wanted to start doing it, but how long did it? You drove by there every day for a year, so it took you a year of just like I'm gonna do it, but didn't do it.
Exactly.
I'm gonna do it, but didn't do it. So for the people that are watching, I mean, there's so many people that say I'm gonna do something, but then they don't do it.
Yes.
A year goes by, I want to do this, but then don't do it. What made you say, okay, I'm had enough? Was it because the marriage was falling apart?
No, a lot of people assume that, and that does play a small portion because it kept me more focused and more grounded, and it keeps me busy and somewhat entertained. But it started because when I initially met my ex-wife, I was 220. I'm 215 now. I'm a little bit different build than I was before, but I wasn't real heavy.
Yeah.
I worked out. My workout was running 1 mile and then doing a whole bunch of chest, just random stuff. So
Yeah.
I
A whole bunch of chest. We could tell it paid off. It paid off.
and it's one of those things where we got together. You get with the girl, you get a little relaxed. I put on a few pounds. I probably got up to maybe 230 or so. Well, then I get engaged. I get married. Then my ex-wife gets pregnant. And obviously, when the woman gets pregnant, she probably is going to not be cooking every night.
Yeah. And y'all are eating the same things.
So, hey, she got a craving for whatever. I'm a fat boy. I'm going to get it.
Gotta eat with her.
Hey, man, long story short, we both grew together.
Yeah.
So I got to a point whenever I remember hitting 260 and thinking to myself, man, I don't look that big, but I'm 260. In high school, I wrestled 189 pounds. So that's pretty dramatic change.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got to that point where I lost. I can't remember where we were at 30 pounds or so.
Yeah.
I kept going, and as the marriage kept falling, it got a little bit worse. But anyways, as she got closer to having the kid, I just gained so much weight. Eventually, I got to 275, and I remember taking off my shirt and looking in the mirror, and I did not want to look I didn't want to look at the mirror because I was so embarrassed of myself.
How hard was that?
It was hard because I look at myself and all I could think of is, there's no wonder your wife don't want you physically because you look like a fat slob.
Yeah.
And that's me being real with myself.
And was that hard? Was that hard as a man? Is that the hard? Like that's got to be hard, right?
Well, that's something that you are in denial with in the process. And then you get to a point where you fully accept, okay, I'm way bigger than I ever been,
Yeah.
I ever imagined. But again, that rock bottom is what got me to turn everything around.
So I always say everybody has their aha moment, their wow moment. And most of the time, like, so what you're saying is that moment you looked in the mirror, that was your aha moment. Like, I got to do something. I got to do something.
That was it, man. I mean, as a grown man, you want to have confidence. If you don't have confidence in yourself, you don't have anything.
That's right.
So I And I went through stages in my life where I had plenty of confidence.
Yeah.
But at that point, with my weight and what was going on with me at the house, I don't know, man. It was just something where I wanted it. I wanted it. I wanted it until finally I was like, it's January 1st.
I'm going to do this.
It's just a fresh start. You know what I mean? It's, some people are like, New Year, who cares? Blah, 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 negative, negative. I mean, I took that as a starting date, and I just made sure I was going to do whatever I could to lose weight. And, I have a lot of people that message me and this, that, and the other. And that's why I'm so big on telling people, just start today.
Yeah.
I don't care if you ate a cheeseburger for lunch. When you go home, I mean, like you were just saying in one of your Facebook videos, you have to have a plan.
Yeah, a plan of action.
If you just think I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to eat great and it's just going to, no. This is another thing I tell people. It was so easy to get overweight and fat.
Yeah.
But it is a mission to lose.
You have to be intentional.
Well, and you just have to be relentless.
Yeah.
It's relentless.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it's, I mean, man, there's 3 days a week sometimes I don't feel like lifting, but I still go to the gym. I still get dressed and I start my workout. And by the time I get done, I'm thankful.
So what are the main difference in habits before when you were overweight as opposed to the habits now?
I look back at what my standards were then, and it's embarrassing because what I feel now is it's just completely opposite.
Yeah.
If you're overweight and you want to be fit, you need to do the complete opposite of what you are doing.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Because what you are doing has brought you to this point. You want to get reverse of that.
So what did like a standard day look like whenever you were like that your heaviest standard day?
So my standard day would be wake up
till the moment you went to bed.
Have a Dr. Pepper.
Big on Dr. Peppers.
I wouldn't really drink coffee back then.
That was your coffee.
Fill up a cup with ice, pour some Dr. Pepper in there, man. I'm on my way to work.
Yeah.
And of course, on my way to work, get kolaches, drive through. Of course, then I would have a big lunch. I say big. I was eating pretty decent sized lunch, which now don't have to eat for 16 hours at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
what kind of lunch were you eating?
Let's see. The lunch. So the lunches were obviously a lot of fast food. I love Whataburger.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Hey,
Amen.
Hey, I still treat myself to that here and there, and it's okay in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the lunch would be big. But what really killed me was evening.
Yeah.
It'd be 6 or 7 hours since I've eaten, and as a fat person, it might as well be 24 hours.
Yeah.
So, and I'm the dessert person.
Sweets. You like some sweets?
I'd eat enough for 2 grown men, and then of course, I'd wait an hour or so, and then I was the cereal killer.
Yeah.
So I'd have 4 boxes of cereal in my pantry.
So cereal was your ice cream, or cereal was your thing.
Cereal and Bluebell ice cream.
Cereal and Bluebell ice cream.
That's why when I first got with you and you were telling me, asking me what I ate, and once you really start looking back on it, if you have any sense of brain power, it's not hard to figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because as a human being, consciously, you know what you're putting in your body.
Yeah. I
try to tell people that just eat consciously because it's just easy. You know what I mean?
I think the most important thing when it comes to like dieting and stuff like that is being nobody holds you accountable. The most important thing is you have to be accountable to yourself. And if you're not going to be accountable to you, and when you're married or when you're in a relationship and your spouse loves you, nobody is ever going to tell you you're getting too fat.
No. Yeah.
How many times did people tell you, John, you've got too fat? But the moment you lost weight, people always have an opinion and say, John, you're getting too skinny. Or you're getting too skinny. Nobody says you're getting too fat, and that's unhealthy for you. But everybody's got an opinion. Do you think it's healthy for you to lose 30 pounds that fast, John? But nobody said anything when you were 275 and you were going to, Amen. John, do you think it's healthy for you to be drinking Dr. Pepper every day? And most of the time, it's because people love you. It's because people love you, and they know if they tell you, John, you shouldn't be drinking Dr. Pepper every day. Well, that's holding you accountable.
Exactly.
And we as people don't like to be accountable because we know what we're supposed to be doing. We just choose not to do it.
That's it.
And so the accountability thing is really, really big. And for some reason, it's very difficult for us to hold ourselves accountable. And if nobody's on you, checking you, watching you, it's really, really, really easy to slip in and out of Whataburger.
Oh, yeah.
To drink Dr. Peppers all day. And so one of the things I do for clients, and I'm not sure if we did this, but years ago, I started developing this thing. Anytime I get a new person, I always ask, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, what does your eating look like? And almost everybody goes, oh, I eat good. I don't eat bad. And I'm like, well, how are you 330 pounds if you don't eat bad? How are you 278 pounds and 5'3" if you don't eat bad? But so then and if you're watching this, I challenge you to do this too. I always tell everybody, from the moment you wake up, I want you to write down everything that you put in your mouth. From the moment it's medication, the food, everything. And don't change your habits. Don't change anything. Because what this is going to do is, for 7 days, the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, write down everything you eat and drink. And at the end of that 7 days, bring me the list. And then we're going to go over the list. And that list is not for me. I've never had the list and said, oh, well, okay, well, I see where you're doing. That list is for you to write down so that you can hold yourself accountable. And there's never been one time that a person wrote down on that list all that food that they didn't usually stop at like day 4 and go, I cannot believe I eat and drink like this. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. And this is what we do. Somebody gets up in the morning, they, have coffee, and they don't even measure the creamer. They just dump it in there, and coffee is judged by the color that it turns into, right? Nobody drinks, when you drink your coffee and you're putting creamer in there, you don't go 1, 2, you pour the coffee in as you're stirring, and you're like, yeah, that's about the color that I like it. And I mean, you don't know how much it is. You just do it, right? Yeah. And so then you drink your coffee. Then you're on your way to work, and like you said, you stop off at McDonald's or some breakfast place or whatever, and then you go eat lunch, and then you do your thing, and then you go to have your dinner and all that. But you really don't think about it until you write it down, and then you write it down and you see what you're doing. And this is usually what happens. Somewhere in that day, somebody has a bag of almonds or some peanut butter and celery sticks or a handful of carrots. And in their mind, I eat healthy because I'm having peanuts.
They're not aware of what they're doing.
But they were unaware of what the rest of the day looked like, because that one thing that they focused on was the carrots. And they said, man,
I ate great today.
I ate great today. I'm so proud of me, but completely negated the 95% of whatever happened the rest of the day. And I just think that's crazy that people do that, but we do that. But it also just goes to show you how we also lie to ourselves.
Accountability is a huge part of this process as well.
With everything, with work, with everything, we lie to ourselves. And if we're not going to be honest with ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to be honest with us?
100%
and most of the people that love you are not going to tell you, man, you messed up. You shouldn't have been gaining that weight. So habits before, when you were eating all that, to what do your habits look like now?
Hey, everybody except my mama. My mom was real quick to say, John, you're looking a little wide, a little heavy.
Shout out to John's mom.
Shout out to my mom. I love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
All the moms
yes,
do that.
all the moms.
All moms do that.
Hey, if anybody's going to be real, it's going to be Mom.
It's going to be your mother. Yeah, that's for sure.
But so now my eating is completely opposite of that. I mean,
what's that schedule look like now?
So usually by 7 a.m., I'm eating 5 whole eggs and about 3 ounces of ham. I usually won't eat again till after I go to the gym. I usually go to the gym from 11:30 till about 1 p.m.
Every day, 5 days a week.
5 days a week I'm doing that. Saturdays, sometimes I'll go and do cardio, just depending on how I'm feeling. But yeah, start out with some eggs. And the key, right, is what I've realized is just eating real food. And by real food, I just mean it either had a mother or it came from the earth.
Yeah,
simplest way to put it. But yeah, and usually I've been buying my meals lately, but my meals usually consist of about 385 calories, 37 to maybe 40 grams of protein, usually about 35 to possibly 50 grams of carbs per meal.
Now, what's funny about that is 7 years ago, he never would have known that information. He never would have even talked about 379 calories. He would have just said, I just had a Dr. Pepper and a honey bun. He never would have known that. So it's so good to see, like, because I met him here, and now I feel like I've watched him just go from here to like the basically the very best version that I've ever seen of him. And so when he's sitting here talking about macros and giving people advice, it's so like comforting to know that, man, we did that. We did that. That's cool.
Well, hey, if you're trying to get into fitness, the best thing you could do is find somebody like I found him and let them guide you. You can do it by yourself and you can get results. But I mean, the first year with him, 75 pounds down, we lost
Oh, yeah.
75 pounds in 1 year.
What's funny about that story is because when we first got together, and then I'm going to let you finish talking about your habits. Whenever we first got together, his exact words to me when he was 265, 270, he said, how much weight do you think I could lose? And I looked at him and I said, I bet I get you down to 185. He said, no way, bro. There's no way.
I literally said those exact words.
No way. He said, no way. There's no way I get down to 185. I ain't been 185 since I was in high school. Well, from the moment we started to the moment we started going back up, guess what weight we hit?
We hit 185.
185, man. That was cool. Anyway, so what do your habits look like now? The meals and all that stuff.
So just to finish off, like I said, I usually have a dinner with the calories and everything I just went over. But yeah, it's all about, to me, is just eating real food. And you really got to find what works for you. You know, for me, for a while, I fasted and then I would eat and it would keep my weight maintained. But really, I want to grow a little bit more. So I'm just finding the more protein I'm eating, the more I'm growing. And actually, the healthier I feel, less inflammatory
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
But yeah, you want to go through my day like a normal
Yeah,
day?
what's that day look like now as opposed to, we know what his day used to look like, Dr. Pepper in the morning, kolaches, drive-through in the afternoon, and some sort of
zero exercise.
zero exercise and cereal. And so that's what built Big John.
Yes.
So what got John into now is what his habits are now.
Exactly. And just like we were saying, it's just conscious eating, going to the gym consistently. I've been at the sanctuary for 7 years, and I've seen numerous amounts of people who I'll see a while, I don't see a while, and all that's fine. I mean, my point being is just my key for me was just consistency over and over, especially the days you don't want to go, as generic as that sounds. Those are the days you'll be thankful once you get done working out that you went, just because you feel better. But yeah, as far as the food goes, that's what it was. I mean, literally food that could kill me. And you know what's scary is I think about how big I would be now, 7 years.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a good point.
7 years now, and I'm half Hispanic, I'm half Caucasian, and my Hispanic side's a little bit wider, so it's in my genetics.
We like them tortillas.
Anything carbohydrates and sugars, pass this way, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, man, that's a good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
At 275 then, I mean, where would you be now if I didn't have broken glass, if we didn't have a gym over there?
350 pounds, bro.
Ooh.
I was a 46, I think, waist before.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got down to a 32-inch. I'm 34-inch right now, but I got down with 32-inch waist.
Have you ever put over the old clothes that you had?
Yeah, I've sent him pictures. We'll have to post one where I was in my, I think they're 44s or something, Dickie shorts, where I'm holding them out to here.
You could fit a whole nother person in there.
And literally, I mean, the circumference of myself is.
So one thing we're talking about there is time. The moment from the very beginning until now. Where would he be if he didn't, decide that I'm having my now moment that I want to change my life? Because I've been a trainer for 18 years. I've owned a gym for 9 years. I've been in health and fitness my whole life, been athletic my whole life. There's been a couple of times where I've let myself go on purpose, but I've never, what I could really say was like overweight. You've always been able to see somewhat of abs or definition on me or whatever. So one of the things I want to highlight is it's gradual. It's subtle.
Yes.
It's so subtle. And because you're not accountable to yourself, you don't really realize it. So let's say you graduate high school and you'll just, for easy math, we'll just say for round numbers, you graduate high school, you're 200 pounds. And then you go get a job working at a plant somewhere and 10 years goes by, which you gain 5 pounds a year. Mm-hmm. Well, now 10 years has gone by. Now you're 250. And now you're 28 years old. You're still young, but you're 250 pounds. You're at a plant all day. You've gained 50 pounds. Well, that 50 pounds is not going to be 5 pounds a year. Now it's going to be 6 and 7 a year for the next 10 years. Definitely. And so now you're 38 years old, and now you weigh 300 pounds.
Scary.
Now, the good thing about health and fitness is it took you 20 years to go from 100 or 200 pounds to 300 pounds. It doesn't take 20 years to come off. The amount of time that it took for you to put there's so much different information. People get caught up in all this information, but no application. It's all, well, this person said keto is the best. Well, for them it might be. Exactly. Oh, this person said paleo is the best. Well, for them it might be. And I'm just really big on like whatever your current lifestyle is. Let's say, for instance, somebody eats twice a day. Now, if your lifestyle, like for me, typically Monday through Friday, I eat twice a day. Now, most people would probably think, no, Jonathan, you got to eat 5 times a day. It speeds up your metabolism. That's kind of like an old school way of thinking. That's what we used to do. The more food you eat, the more it does speeds up your metabolism. I find that like I'm on the floor training clients all day, and it's very difficult for me to go heat up food and eat like carbs and eat food with those while I'm training people because it makes me sluggish, and I feel like it hinders my performance. So for years at a time, or for years or months leading into years, I wouldn't eat breakfast. I would just drink coffee. And then 5 or 6 hours would go by and I would get a chance to have like an apple or something. And so it started to where like my window of eating, instead of like in the morning, get pushed back to later, to later, to later, to later. And at my heaviest, I was about 280 pounds. My body fat was probably 24%. And then I started intermittent fasting because I was like, well, man, let me just eat 1 time a day. And since I'm only eating once anyways, let me eat 1 big meal a day. Now, bodybuilding, that's like unheard of. You don't do that. You don't fast. You don't do intermittent fast. You don't eat once a day when you're bodybuilding. So at 280 pounds, I got all the way down to like 210. Just intermittent fasting. I looked really good. It was the most like, I didn't feel like my joints were hurting as bad. I felt great. I had so much energy from intermittent fasting that it was incredible. And for me, it just worked for me for a long period of time. And now instead of eating once a day, now I eat like a pretty decent size like breakfast, the same thing every day. I eat 4 or 5 whole eggs, 2 strips of bacon, and 1 tortilla, like a big breakfast taco. I eat that almost every day. Yes, you heard it. I look this good and I eat breakfast tacos.
So what were some of your habits that you did?
What do you mean my habits? From when?
Like over your 20 years, you said you let yourself go and
purpose. Yeah. I mean, like, so like I've been lifting weights since I was 12. Like I saw a picture of my dad and he was holding a shark and he was swole. And for me, I didn't need motivation. I just want to be like my dad. And I still love my dad and I still want to be like my dad. And so for me, it was just, how can I be like that? You know, my dad has always been my superhero. I've always looked up to my father. So for me, when I saw me and my dad had our garage was our gym. It was the gym. Like we didn't have a garage where you park cars in a garage.
Gym area.
That was our gym, right? So we had all this weight equipment inside the garage, and we just lifted weights. I lifted weights with my dad. My dad was the neighborhood quarterback for all the kids, and we just had a good time. And so, you know, and that turned into being like really athletic, being involved in sports. And if you're involved in sports and you're an athlete, you're lifting weights. You're trying to become the very best version of yourself because you want to be the best athlete on the field. You want to be the best competitor that you can be. So while everyone else in summertime is on summer break, I was not on summer break. I was lifting weights and running sprints. Because why? Because I want to be the best. And if all those kids weren't doing it, then I was going to be the same as them. If we were all doing the same thing, then how can we get better? So my mindset at a very young age, I adopted trying to be the very best version of myself physically. Now, spiritually, that's come along over time too. And that's a, everyday working process as well. But when it came to being physical, those habits were like bodybuilding has done so much for just my habits, because it was like, I don't care if you're tired. You know your schedule. You know your schedule. So when you say, I'm going to go to the gym when I get off work, you're lying to yourself. You know you're not. You know the best time for you to, especially if you have a wife and kids, when you get off at 5 and you go home and them kids are there, you're not leaving and going to the gym.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is you either go on lunch when you're on work, if you can do that, or you get your butt up at 3:30 in the morning while everyone else is asleep. You go to the gym, you get it done, and then you get off work and come home and spend time with the family. But what we do is we lie to ourselves. We're like, oh, I'll just go on lunch. You're not going on lunch. You can lie to yourself and make yourself feel better about it, but you're not going. Yeah. I'm going to go whenever I get off work. I didn't have that. I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was a federal cop for 5 years. And so I had to be at work at 5:30 in the morning, and I had an hour-long drive. So I would do fasted cardio. So that means I would have to leave at 4:30 to get there at 5:30. So when I was doing fasted cardio, that I had to do fasted cardio for an hour. That meant I had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, get to the gym at 2:15, 2:20. Then I would do cardio from 2:20, 2:30 in the morning till 3:30, go home, eat meal one, then get ready, shower, then on my way to work at 4 o'clock in the morning. I did that every day for almost 4 years, 5 years. And it was just habit. To become the very best version of yourselves, you can't do what everyone else is doing. And you can't expect your life to change. Like, you can't just say, oh, my life is going to change. I'm going to make my life change tomorrow. And you're still doing the same thing. But that's what everybody does. I want to make $1 million, but you don't have $1 million work ethic. Exactly. You don't have $1 million habits. And we've said this in all these other podcasts, is the secret to changing your life is in your routine. Everything that you have to be successful, to become the very best version of yourself, you already have. You already possess it. It is already inside of you. It's just whether you choose to execute those actions every single day. Habits make you or break you. There's a saying that, like, if you're like, me and John are car guys. Tristan's not there yet, but he likes cars too. But like, they say that you never see them advertising Ferraris or Lamborghinis on TV. And do you want to know why? Because their customers aren't sitting around watching TV. They're not sitting there watching TV. Yeah, people are buying trucks. People are buying, Chevys and Camaros and Corvettes and stuff like that, because people like those people are those people. But the people that you see that have Ferraris and Lamborghinis, they don't have a Chevrolet work ethic.
Exactly.
It's just different. And so in order for you to become different, you have to change. You have to be different. And like John said, John could have easily just kept driving by the gym and said, I'm going to change. He could have went through a divorce, let his life fall apart, and just he could have turned into drugs and alcohol and drinking and partying and got fatter and fatter and fatter and worse and worse and worse. And I'm telling you, the worse your habits are, the harder it is to change. Mm-hmm. Tristin, you got any bad habits you ever had to overcome? What's your bad habits? What were your bad habits? Ooh. Tristin kind of struggles on the opposite end of the spectrum. We kind of have an ecto, endo, mesomorph in here. I always get meso and endomorph confused. It's the person who struggles to gain weight, the person that can gain weight and lose weight whenever, and the person that could gain weight easily if they wanted to. So we kind of have 3 different body types in here. Tristin is on the adverse side of this. Tristin used to get made fun of because he was small. Tristin used to get picked on because he was a little guy. So whenever he was around a bunch of people, but it doesn't feel any different when you're fat or if you're little. It still feels the same, whereas people don't look down on the skinny guy or the little guy like they do the fat person.
Oh, yeah. It's way easier to pick on the fat person.
It's all this food, and they're not really going to gain very much weight. They're typically leaner, smaller their whole lives. And I know everybody watching, I was like, man, I wish I was an ectomorph. You say that until you're an ectomorph. Yeah. Until you're little, and then you just can't ever gain weight. I mean, I have clients all the time that complain about being ectomorphs. So like, no matter what I do, I just can't gain weight. And I'm here to tell you, it feels the same to an ectomorph as it does to somebody who's overweight. They just get more flat. I wish I could look like that. And no, you really don't. The problem is you just want to become the very best version of yourself, and whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. So what were your bad habits? You used to smoke and all that stuff too, right?
Yeah, I used to smoke, but that would really help me eat a lot more. But
smoking helped you eat more?
Yeah.
Man, usually it's the other way around.
Well, it was smoking weed, so it kind of.
Oh, never mind. I thought he was talking about smoking cigarettes. Do you smoke cigarettes?
No.
So yeah, he looked at me like, "Ooh, gross." No, I don't smoke cigarettes. I used to smoke weed.
No, it was just weed, but I always had it in the mind that if I was smoking, I would be able to eat. But after stopping for like a month and a half, my appetite started coming back, and then I would eat out a lot, but then I started eating out. I mean, started eating more healthier, and then working out. Working out really helped me gain the weight because I was getting muscle, but it was not waking up early enough so I can get a breakfast in. That was big for me, getting the breakfast in.
Eating
but
first thing in the morning. When
yeah.
me and Tristan are roommates. We lived together, and when me and Tristan first, whenever he first moved in, I was always making breakfast, and I'm always like, "Hey, bro, you want some breakfast?" "Nah, man, I'm good." And I'm like, "What? How, you don't want breakfast?"
Gotta eat.
Yeah, like, man, you
I
gotta
didn't realize
eat.
how much you ate more than me. I was like, dang.
Oh
I
yeah,
gotta get
it's so
my-
you don't really realize it. Like, we'll sit down, and I don't really ever cook for just one person. Like,
For an army?
if I buy like 4 pounds of chicken, I'm not making 8 ounces. I'm making 4 pounds of chicken. And so I'd be like throwing like 6 or 8 little tenderloins on there, and then I'm throwing the same amount on there on his, and he's like,
What are you doing?
"I can't eat all this." Like,
Definitely.
like here's a good example. Like, it was impossible to fly planes until somebody flew a plane. And then once they flew the plane, that became the standard.
Mhm.
So for you, it's impossible for you to lose weight. And whenever it comes to trying to make a change, when you try to put too much on your plate, and it can be way too much.
Yes.
So it can anytime I get clients, one of the things that I try to tell people the most is, let's start with baby steps. We're gonna walk slow before we walk fast. It is not walk, jog, run. It's walk slow. Then we pick up once you've mastered walking slow, then we pick up the pace. Then we walk a little faster. And then once we picked up the pace, then we walk a little faster. And then we get it up to maybe a slight jog.
And everybody wants to start out running.
And you burn out.
And I tell people, I'm like, you're overwhelming yourself. You can't do all this. Like, you have to progressively work at this. And like you said, it's a process.
It is. It's a marathon.
It's things you don't know the first few weeks become second nature within, 8 weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
And then as you get further in your journey and you see what you've done and the amount of weight you lost, then you just, like you're saying, you want to get better.
Yeah.
And then you start cutting more. I mean, it's one of those things where results drive me, not just in fitness, everything, just results. I mean, that's what we do things for, right?
Yeah. Goals, yeah.
But yeah, it's all a process. People, they need to realize that, you feel overwhelmed. I mean, do you remember how many dumb text messages I used to message you about nutrition, just about everything I was overthinking?
Yeah.
I'm talking about, I used to text and be like, man, I apologize, dude. Like, I don't want to text you 20 times, but this is, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
He was always patient though.
My favorite was, "Hey man, if I eat a half a cup of rice, is that okay?" I'm like, half a cup of rice is like 80 calories, bro. Yes, you can have 5 cups of rice. You're going to be okay. We were laughing about this today because one of the guys that started with John, his name was DeMarcus. Shout out D if you're watching this.
Yeah.
But DeMarcus was heavy too. And he had the same questions John did. So like, if you've ever ate fast food, you know that you can eat a burger and fries and a chocolate shake. You can eat that, and then a couple hours later you're hungry. That's 2,000 calories. You're going to eat more after that because that fast food seems to spike your blood sugar, and then it makes your insulin go up and then go down, and then before you know it, you're hungry, and then you just want to eat chips, and you're just craving just more junk.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you eat fast food. That's how you gain weight. And so my buddy DeMarcus, I put him on a meal plan, and he was eating, egg whites and oatmeal and chicken and rice and veggies and more whole food. Like John said, if it had a mother, if it grown from the ground, that's what he was eating. And so he started feeling really full on that food. And he said, "Jay, man, are you sure this is right?" And DeMarcus just lost 96 pounds too.
Yeah.
And he was like, are you sure this is right? I feel so full all the time. But that was the point. It was to make him feel full. And his literal words to me were, "But Jay, I just got this body." I don't want to go back. And I'm like, no, bro, like it's not the same. It might feel the same because you're full, but it is not the same. It is not the same feeling. Me and John were talking about this today. I said, John, you could go out and eat a burger and fries and a chocolate shake and some cookies and all that. You could eat 2,000 calories at lunch. But if I told you to eat 2,000 calories in chicken and rice, you couldn't do it. Impossible to eat 2,000 calories of chicken and rice in one sitting.
That'd be a lot of chicken. Right?
You could eat a pound of chicken, and that's not even going to be enough because it's so it's so nutrient dense that it makes you feel so full for longer periods of time, so you're not hungry.
So if y'all want to build some better habits, I would encourage you to find someone that will help you be accountable to yourself and create a plan that you can get step by step and make 1% better every day.
Best advice that I can give is just to start today. Like I was saying earlier, it's everybody is waiting for this or waiting for that or scared or whatever it may be. Just make sure you start today, because you'll start today, you'll get 6 months of progress, and you'll look back and think, what if I started a year ago? So whatever you do, start today.
And I'm gonna tip on that too. Like, Jesus had 12 friends he hung out with all the time. He wasn't alone. Number one, he had God that he prayed to all the time, but he had his 12. He had his disciples. He had his crew. So whenever you think that I can do this by myself, you might be able to do it by yourself. But I'm here to tell you that we are better together. The Bible talks about a cord is much stronger to break. 3 arrows are much stronger to break than one is stronger to break. So get a good support system. Grab a couple friends. Grab me and John have several financial group chats. Me and Tristin have group chat. Tristan's in some group chats. I have group chats with so many different people that we help hold each other accountable to whatever it is in that. Like, we started a 75-day challenge group on Facebook so that we could talk about it all off and on all day long, because look, we are better together. You are better when you have somebody in your life that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to make you want to become the very best version of yourself. So if you're thinking about starting a business, if you're thinking about starting a weight loss journey, like John said, start today. And have a plan and execute that plan. And you know what? I was reading this book, and one of the books, it says, it's called The 4 Agreements, and it says always do your best. Sometimes your best is 100%, and sometimes your best that day is 20%.
Yep.
But if you have a good support system, that support system will help lift you up. See, we as humans, when we'll create problems in our life, and what we do is we withdraw. And we expect people to chase us and be like, are you okay? What's wrong? And in reality, it's not somebody's job to chase you and try to figure out what's wrong with you. If you have a problem, if you have an issue, your support system should be there so that you can go to your support system and say, hey, I'm struggling with A, B, C, and D. Can you help me? One of the best things that I ever learned in my life was saying, I need help.
Yep.
I need help with whatever it is. I need help with the gym. I need help with work. I know that I'm not the smartest guy in the room. And so no matter what it is, if it comes to cars or business or architect, the greatest thing about owning a business, especially one that I own, there are so many different people from so many different industries, from construction, that come into the gym that I could say, like, I'm not going to figure this out. I don't want to be a glass guy. I don't want to hang glass. So I call him. I don't want to spend time learning how to do social media and all the wonderful things that Tristin does. So I just asked Tristin, hey, can you do this? I'm asking for help. So I'm telling all you guys out there that no matter what areas you are weak in, don't necessarily try to be strong in all those areas, because you have your natural God-given gifts that he gave you that you're naturally strong in. Walk in those areas and those gifts that God gave you. In the areas that you're weak in, have a support system of people that are strong in those areas so that you can have this table of friends that you can bounce ideas off of, and so that you can create this big, strong bond that's unbreakable with a group of people that are like-minded, that are going to help you become the very best version of yourself.
Amen to that.
So we're signing off. We're gonna see you guys next week. John might be back with us next week, but we're gonna have probably another special guest. We'll see you guys next week.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and comment your favorite habit that you started in 2024.